I am just really excited to be your host today, Diane Gatsis Havinga. You're probably going to see a lot more of me than you probably want to in the coming weeks, but that's okay. It's a Thursday. It's the second day of April. Can you believe we made it through April 1st and it wasn't, that April Fool's Day had been canceled, by the way. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the changes that are here at Cox Channel 1960. I wanted to share what we're doing going forward in the stay-at-home world that we are now living with. Talk a little bit about our TV guide and the programming that we plan to present for you. And then later on in the program, we're going to celebrate three to four women who really made history. And they're from here, from Green Springs. So before that, my understanding is tomorrow when you start getting your, is it the second, third batch of meals? Anyway, your batch of meals, you're going to get a TV guide, plus puzzles and some other things. But the TV guide is going to have some new programming for you. As you know, we are practicing social distancing. We are asking residents to stay in their apartment as much as possible. So our resident hosts aren't going to be around, at least in person, but we are going to try some what we're calling virtual hosting. And tomorrow on our Vantage Point program, it's going to be our first attempt with Marcia Boyles has been gracious enough to be our guinea pig, and we hope that we can present a program with a virtual host. That's someone who's not in the studio but is going to be joining us online through Zoom. And we're going to put together a program like that. And if we're successful and everything works, we'll continue to do that moving forward with our resident hosts, having them serve virtually. And because we're dealing with technology, please bear with us. Sometimes it's going to work. And sometimes it might, but that's the fun of live television, and that's why I really enjoy working in live television, because you really don't know what's going to happen until you do it. So with that, also a lot of our monthly segments where we have staff come in and present what's going on in community resources, the volunteer programs, special trips, Garden Ridge, things like that. Those segments are going to take a hiatus. And I think you probably can figure out why. A lot of that staff have been reassigned. People at Garden Ridge are being asked to just stay at Garden Ridge, and they have their hands full enough. So a lot of those segments will disappear for the time being. Hopefully when we get the all clear, we'll go back to the way it was. But at this point, we'll be presenting different segments in their place, and we're going to be experimenting. We've already started experimenting. We've been presenting some of the Facebook posts and YouTube posts that people all over the world are posting, some of it in fun. We had fun this week with the Sound of Music parody on staying at home and washing your hands. And at the end of this program, we're going to present Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber with a virtual Phantom of the Opera song. So we're going to be bringing you things like that. We've taken our 2 o'clock programming for the week, Monday through Friday, and we're going to dub that our entertainment concert segment. So starting Monday, Dale Jarrett, who everyone loves, has graciously sent us his Facebook post, and he's going to be doing virtual sing-alongs with you. So how about that? So we're going to start that on Monday at 2 o'clock, and it will repeat again at 8 p.m. The next day, we're going to have a live sing-along with Amy, our music therapist. Now, Amy's a staff member, which is why she's able to come in, and she's going to do a live sing-along with you. And again, hopefully, depending on her schedule, we'll continue to do that, if not on a monthly basis, maybe bi-monthly. And then the U.S. Army Band, again, virtual concerts. It's just amazing what the musicians are doing. So we're going to present to you a U.S. Army Band concert. We'll repeat the sing-along. So we have lots of entertainment planned for you at that 2 o'clock spot. Then at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a brand new feature. We're calling it more of a historical, cultural hour. We're going to be playing a lot of history forums that have been done on here at campus. We have travel logs we're going to present to you. Again, as the month wears on, we'll do some virtual tours of museums. We've started last week with the Kennedy Center has a digital stage. We're going to go to the zoo. So we'll have some great programs for you to watch at the 3 o'clock spot. And finally, on the weekend, we've also kind of decided that we could tinker it. On Saturdays, we're going to expand our exercise segment. Right now, as you know, we get you up at 6 o'clock with exercise programs. We're going to put our encores of Village in Motion on hiatus. And instead, we will present on Saturday beginning at 9:30 from our sister community, Mayor's Grove, their exercise program. So you'll be able to exercise with different people, and we'll present a little bit more unusual, I wouldn't say unusual, but different type of exercise that we normally present. For instance, Tai Chi. We'll do some more meditation. So we have lots of things planned for you during the 9:30 a.m. and noon segment. Last week we introduced a virtual Sabbath from the Jewish community. We're going to continue to do that on Saturdays. And then Sunday, in that 9:30 to noon spot, we have taken that spot and we're going to devote it to more of a spiritual, religious programming. And again, we're trying to expand our programming, and we decided, you know, let's expand the faiths that are represented, because we already have our basic Catholic, Protestant, and what do you call it? Green Spring Fellowship. Is there more Baptists? Paulette, help me out here. Yes. So we'll present an Orthodox from the Greek Orthodox Church. One of the priests that I'm familiar with does a daily devotion for the morning and the evening, so we'll have him. We're going to have an interview with the Dalai Lama about Buddhism, and we're going to do a VERDIC, V-E-D-I-C, tour of the universe and beyond. So lots of exciting things that, again, some of them will be successful, we hope. Some of them you may think, wow, she's really thinking out of the box on that one. But all in all, we're here to help, to give you the information that you need. And also to have some fun, because it is trying. We're all under stress. Believe me, it's not any fun for us when we go home. We have other things that a lot of us are dealing with, families. People are losing their jobs, going on furlough, reduction in pay, things like that. So it's a stressful time for all of us, not only here at Green Spring, people in Virginia, the United States, and the world. But you know, we're going to get through this, and I think the best way we can do it is not only with prayer, but with humor. Having said all that, I'm going to stop talking, and I want to go to the women history programs that we have for you. I was in the middle of actually producing a brand new one with one of our Green Spring residents, had taped the interview, and was going to go back to her apartment to do the, what we call B-roll, to go along with the interview, and guess what happened? So hopefully, when this is all over, we'll present that. But in the meantime, we have lots and lots of material. So I thought I'd go back to the year 2005. This wasn't the first women's history program I did. It was the second, and it featured 2 Green Spring residents, one who has since, in fact, I believe she passed away within the year after I did this program. And the other one is still around and kicking and well, and it's our own Jane Curtis. And then we have some others that we're going to present to you. So let's go ahead and enjoy and celebrate Women's History Month.
really went into nursing to become a school nurse teacher, and that was my sort of beginning in education. And then for certification, I had to have certain requirements, and that took me to bachelor's and master's because I had the GI Bill of Rights. So I got started and got my master's, and the advisors said, what we need is nurses with doctoral degrees. And so you've got the financial support, and you should proceed directly toward doctoral degree. And then almost the day that I got my degree, my doctoral degree from Teachers College Columbia, there were people looking for nurses with doctoral degrees. And University of Kentucky was there recruiting for a new dean of a new school of nursing. So I became the 7th professional staff member in a totally new medical center as dean of the College of Nursing, University of Kentucky. And that just expanded. We started that College of Nursing, and the big problem was in higher education, to be employed, you needed advanced degrees, and we did not have nurses with advanced degrees. So we kind of had to train our own as we went along, unlike other fields, because nursing had been taught in care facilities, the hospitals, rather than in educational facilities. Nursing education was by practice in the care settings more than theory as other disciplines.
I got interested in the auto harp from hearing a mill run dulcimer band play, and they play at Calvin Mill 4 or 5 times throughout the summer. And the first performance I went to would have been in 1977. And I got interested in dulcimer from that, and also auto harp, so I've been playing over 20 years. Kid, I took the obligatory 2 years of piano, a year or 2 of violin, but then I really didn't do anything with music until the late 70s. Another thing that's fun is the auto harp community is fairly small, so you get to know all the big fish. I mean, you go to festivals and you see all the top auto harpists there. The members of the mill run dulcimer band, they would have group lessons, so that was a lot of it. And also they had camps or workshops that you go and you live on campus for a week and take from performers. And I've taken from Brian Bowers there and also from David Morris, and they're both very good auto harp players. It's like so much in folk music, it's very individualized. It's not like oboe, you've got to play a certain way. Guitar and dulcimer and auto harp and banjos, they're very flexible, and you just end up developing your own style. This is a little waltz that I'm doing as instrumental. It's called Southwind. I just saw an interview or a write-up on her that was done in 1990, and she was born in 1903. So I didn't know her, but that's the picture that you have on the screen now. And the Carter family, Mother Maybelle and AP and Sarah, that's Mother Maybelle, and that's her with her daughter shoot. Her daughter, Jeanette. Okay, and the next one is Jeanette, more recently with her brother, Joe. And they still do the old-timey music down on the Hiltons on Saturday night, all through the summertime. And I've been to some of it. It's called the Carter Fold, and it's really cool. It's an amphitheater, and the stage is covered, but then there's a great big hill that just holds hundreds and hundreds of people. And it's just real country. It's fun. For some modern players, that's the Bill Sky family. And Tara, the one on your left, isn't with them anymore, but Lori and Bill, they put on 100,000 miles every year on their van. They travel, do a lot of small venues. And he just recently married Vicki Young, who's a gospel singer. And so that's kind of fun. And they'll be at the Arlington Assembly of God Church on the 17th of April. So I get to see them. And this band is the Annabelles, and they're out of North Carolina. They're a fun group. They do a lot of Cajun kind of music. This is a song called Good Old Joe, and it's about retirement. A couple getting used to it. Joe came home from work one day and he said to his dear wife, Gertrude, I think I'll retire, been working all my life. So he quit his job and they sold the house and bought a mobile home. Settled down in Florida where the alligators roam. And every day was Sunday and good old Joe got bored. He bought himself a fishing boat and Gertrude thanked the Lord. For years and years she'd kept house, done things her own way. Believe you me, it was something else with Joe at home all day. Gertrude washed the dishes, made the bed and mopped the floor. Settled down to watch TV when Joe came through the door. He was home from fishing in a hurry for his lunch, 'cause he was going golfing with the senior citizen bunch. Gertrude washed the dishes and she made a casserole, but Joe didn't go for dinner, he got stuck at the 19th hole. For several weeks this went on till Gertrude wrote a note. Next day when Joe came home for lunch, he found what Gertrude wrote. Dear Joe, I won't be home for lunch. I've gone to arts and crafts, and after that I signed up for a belly dancing class. If you want a sandwich, there's bologna in the fridge. I won't be home this afternoon. I'm going to play bridge. And let's go out for dinner, 'cause I feel like Chinese food. I know you like home cooking, but I'm just not in the mood. Good old Joe just went along. What else could he do? He really had forgotten that retirement is for two.
Well, I've been playing since I was a young adult, although I've been playing other instruments since I was a small child. I thought about the zither, of course I'd heard of it, when I was living in Europe. And I thought, it might be interesting to learn to play one, acquire one and learn to play it. So when you're used to picking up instruments and fooling with them, you get sort of arrogant. You think, well, I can just fool with this a little bit and I'll see how it goes. And play. But luckily, some good spirit got hold of me and said, why don't you find a teacher and find out how it should be done correctly, which was a very good decision because it's a very, very complicated, difficult instrument to play. And as a musician, you can understand it quite readily, and it has its advantages once you can do it. But it requires lots of patience and lots of work and not letting the frustration get you. So I found a teacher, a very nice person, and I was with her for a couple of months, and she explained it all to me and showed me, and we got going. And after that, it was just year after year after year of keeping doing it. And it's a wonderful instrument. Of course, it fell off in popularity very greatly in the 20s. After the 20s, I should say. There were still zither clubs even in this country in the 20s. But it fell off, and of course the war had pronounced effect on it in Europe. It's native to the German-speaking areas of Europe. So after the war, then it began a comeback, and it's made a pretty good comeback now in Europe. And a lot of people in Japan are learning to play the zither, or have been learning. So here and there, I mean, it's still alive, but in this country, it's really falling off. You can't find people with the patience to learn it. But I have 4 students right now. So my students unfortunately are all adults. The youngest is middle-aged, and Austrian-born, as a matter of fact. But she has 2 teenage children, and she's a live wire. She's doing a lot of different things. But she couldn't believe her good fortune to find a zither player right here. She lives in Arlington. So she's making good progress. One of them is quite elderly. She resides right here. I don't think she'd mind if I named her. It's Jo Shrimpy. And she took the beginner's course I gave a couple of years ago, and she's been making good progress. She has lots of stick-to-itiveness. And my other 2 students are men. One comes up once a month from down near Roanoke for a long lesson. And that's, 4.5, 5 hours drive, so he's really devoted. And the other one lives over in Maryland, in Potomac. So, and then I have some people, I give 2 seminars a year. The spring one is coming up next month. And I have people coming to that from Philadelphia and Ohio and New Jersey. It's 2 instruments in one, because here you can probably see in the picture it has frets. It has 5 strings over the frets. But it does not have a neck like most of the other fretted instruments, like a guitar or a banjo or what have you. But you have this instrument here. And, of course, nothing happens when you just do this. It's not like you can do that, but you can't really play. So you need to make them sound. Well, when you're playing a guitar, of course, you're doing this and strumming, or a banjo. In this one, you stroke the strings with, you wear a ring on your thumb that has a thorn on it here, in which you can just stroke these strings, but you must only stroke the one or ones you want to sound. So if you play... What you're doing now here is, now I'm going to another string. But at the same time, you notice I'm doing something with the rest of this hand. Something completely different. These strings are all played open, and you pull them. You can even the main trick is getting it together. When you teach somebody to play, you show them first how to play an octave and where to put their fingers and all that. Then you show them how to do this, and this comes very hard. It's counterintuitive. People want to do this, but you mustn't do this. And then when you say, now put them together, there's something, your brain says put them together, but it's hard. But then, or if you're playing an old American piece, where you're not doing just plonk plonk, where you have different timing. So this is essentially how it's played. You need 3 hands, really. You need one hand to do this, and one hand to do this, and one hand to do this. And this is going this way, this is going this way, and this is moving this way. So it takes it takes a little work to get into it.
I decided when I was quite young that I wanted to do theatrical costume design. So when I was through school, I went and studied in Stockholm, where I lived at the time, at Anders Beckman's art school, which they sort of specify in design. And so I studied there for a while. Then I went to Copenhagen and worked as a milliner, making hats. Everybody wore hats in those days, just to learn the basics of costume making. And I drifted into clothing design for a while, but I really didn't like that too much. Costumes was much more fun. So, of course, then I came over to the States in '47 and married my husband, Al, whom I'd met in Denmark. And we lived in Detroit, and I proceeded to have a bunch of kids, 4 sons, and didn't have time to do much. But I did work with the local Little Theater and did their costuming and acted in plays and really got bitten by the bug. In '68, I was making costumes for a children's program. ABC was taping in Detroit at WXYZ, the Children's Story Hour, and I costumed that. And that went on for a couple of years. And then '68, the Muppets came on the scene, and every kid show wanted puppets. They asked me, could I make them? And I lied and said yes. I knew I could if somebody just showed me. And I happened to know a young man, Bob Elnicky, who had worked with Henson, Jim Henson, and he showed me how to make them. And so I did that for a while also. I did figures for several of their shows. And eventually I got so many orders from other people that I decided I could make more money staying home making puppets. And so that's how that started. And then eventually I drifted into the ventriloquist dummy. Pardon me, you're not supposed to say that, figure. The ventriloquist figures. And that was very profitable and an awful lot of fun. And all the time I was taking art lessons from several different people. I wanted to try all the media. I was doing a lot of watercolor and also a lot of acrylics, which I hadn't done before. And then I tried pastels and oils, of course. But I like acrylics. They're so forgiving. If you do anything wrong, you can just change it. It's dry almost instantly. Watercolor is much more difficult. And since I came to Green Spring, I have made puppets, and I have given a puppet class. Aside from that, we have just finished the variety show here, where I made the props, and with a lot of help from my sister and Ginny and Fran, we made the backdrop, which was really quite successful. We did a skyline, the New York skyline. I'd started in costume design, which is a different thing altogether from drawing, because it's more stylized and you have to do, certain techniques, so that the costumer knows what you're intending with your design. I started with that and kept on studying art, and I took courses in tailoring and millinery, everything I could think of to be able, because you really, to be a good designer, you have to know the construction of the costume. And so that's why I dove into. And then, of course, when I went to Denmark, as I said before, it was a millinery shop, a very lovely one in Copenhagen. And he branched out into clothing, so I did some of that design too. If you think in your mind that you actually can, I knew I could. I had no doubt. So instead of saying no, I said yes. No, I don't think it's smart to lie most of the time. If you say you can do something or you claim you've done something that you haven't, it's going to come out that that you are really fibbing. But I learned. I'd made a couple of puppets with Bob Elnicki, and then I knew it's not that complicated. I think probably the one I made for a guy who still is on television. He had a show here in Washington that was televised on the comedy channel. His name is Jeff Dunham, and he uses a puppet called Walter, and another one called Peanut. So Peanut was probably my most famous puppet. He's been popular, he's been used for, gosh, I don't know how long. Who wants to be an artist? Well, keep on working take as many different teachers' lessons as you can. There are always available at schools and other places where you can learn your trade, and also just keep on painting. You learn from your own mistakes, and just keep on painting. In anything you want. My son does beautiful work he uses art paper and puts them together like puzzles, raised up. Isn't that beautiful? All these pieces are cut out in cardboard and layer with foam underneath, so that when you see it, it has a 3D effect almost. And he's getting better and better. This was one of his first things he did, and what he's doing now is so superior. You really teach yourself most of what you accomplish, I think.
It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. It's a small.
As I said, I think I'll dig him out and do another show.
Great.
Yeah, everybody seems to enjoy it.
So there were 4 of our very talented residents sharing their histories with us, from music to art to theater to nursing, which is really something that we need to tell our nurses the next time you see them how appreciative we are, and all our healthcare workers.